Hey guys, it's here bringing you another video. Welcome back to a patch note breakdown. This patch, I'll be honest, it's just launched. It's pretty big. So I'm like, oh Jesus. So also we'll go through all the changes, but if it's not something major, then we obviously won't like really get into it. So just to kind of go through it. And by the way, I'm recording this, editing it, uploading it all for tonight. This patch was, by the way, a day later than normal because there was a holiday in America on Monday, which I think was President's Day. And obviously, whenever there's a holiday in America, typically we get a day later. I did look through the patch schedule, and it seems there's only one other day in this whole patch schedule year that is going to be later, and that's during May. So, yeah. So, basically, quality of life updates for gameplay systems and champions. We've got some LP gain for Emerald Plus LP gains. That's going to be interesting. I don't know what that's about. I thought there was adjustments to LP gains below Emerald, but yeah. Windows is having a bit of old Windows versions are being no longer supported. So if you're on an older system or older Windows, you may need to update to play. But yeah, the preview, we're getting nerfs to Aurelion, Bard, Fiora, Alawi, Callista, Maokai, Twisted Fate, Varus, and Zyra. We're getting buffs to Ari, Jace, Kai'Sa, Lulu, Renekton, Soraka, Thresh, and Volibear, and adjustments to Cassante, Rek'Sai, and Smolder. We're also getting system changes to quite a lot of things. Black Cleaver, Fountain Regeneration, Hull Breaker. That probably, by the way, is just to do with the Urgot interaction. Lethal Tempo, finally. This is actually to kind of nerf the Wind Brothers. Even though they'll still be strong, they basically have held that kind of rune ransom for a very long time, giving them way too much early strength for both being kind of late game scaling champions. Lost chapter items, Ravenous Hydra, Stridebreaker, support items, Terminus, and tethering abilities. So I think that's like LeBlanc Chain, Zax Q, and we'll see the other one. New skins from the Porcelain line, and they'll be coming out February 22nd. The first thing, though, Vanguard, obviously the proprietary anti-cheat system. It has been delayed. They already announced that, but it seems that they're kind of delaying it more. So we've been communicating in the past a few patch notes that Vanguard was coming, but after some time on the PBE testing the diagnostics check, we've elected to change the rollout plan. Instead of the global rollout, we are releasing in a single region first with patch 14.5, and obviously this is 14.4, so it's not going global next patch. They haven't said here what region it is, but to maintain stability and performance of our games, we sometimes need to deprecate support oh wait, no, sorry, I was reading the wrong thing. Instead of that, we're releasing a single region. This allows us, there we go, allows us time on servers to evaluate how Vanguard is functioning and being experienced before making adjustments if required. So just to make it very clear, because some people are like, oh, is this like Riot thinking maybe it's not a good idea and they won't do it? No. So what they most likely have come across on the PBE is either the Vanguard system being a little bit too extreme, and people even on the PB may be affected by it. They need to fine tune, obviously, what it's actually detecting in terms of like what is cheating. And on the PB, maybe it was detecting the third party like Porofessor and stuff like that, and Blitz GG. Maybe it was detecting those and it's not supposed to. So they obviously don't want to kind of roll it out globally and it just goes ban everybody. So they need to be careful with it. So they're going to be putting it into a single region. Two thoughts of where this would go. Either it'll be North America because that's, you know, Riot's own region. It's where their headquarters are. So that would be, you know, they're on the same time zone so they could fix things quicker. Or they'll go for a less kind of risky, smaller server just to see how it goes initially. So it could be OCE or Turkey or something like that. But we'll see. They haven't said here exactly where. But Vanguard is coming. I know some people are still nervous about it. Again, I know people, and I've had comments going, oh, he's, you know, bought out from Riot. I promise you I'm not. I'm just a computer science student that isn't scared of this stuff. And I think there are some people that fearmonger it. And I think the biggest people that fearmonger it are people that just don't understand it, which obviously is kind of common. If you don't understand something, usually people fear it. It's really not that big of a thing. It's only looking within League of Legends terms and what you're trying to do within League of Legends. It doesn't care about anything else. And I know people will have all their conspiracies. It really doesn't. I can promise you that. It won't. They can't. Well, one, they won't do that, and two, they won't risk that. And I know people have said, oh, you know, Tencent owns it. It doesn't matter. Like, it literally doesn't matter. If you've played any games, big games, Call of Duty, they have a kernel-based anti-cheat system. If you've played some Steam games, they have kernel-based anti-cheat systems. They just have to, unfortunately, they have to exist with how advanced cheats are getting. So, because the fact is, cheats nowadays are kernel-based, and because basically what happens, just to explain it to the layman, if your cheats are kernel-based, they're embedded into your Windows files, and if a game doesn't have permission to look in your Windows files at that level, it cannot detect the cheats. So that's how cheats kind of get through the system. It's how scripting can get through the system, let's say in League of Legends, where it shouldn't. So when basically a kernel-based anti-cheat system is at the same level, and that's the highest level it can be on a computer system, it can find them and detect them, and that's the whole point. So it really, to me, is not something to be fearful of. So yeah, the Windows spec, so they will no longer be supporting League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics for Windows 7, 8, and 8.1. I don't know if that means you'll, like, from now on not be able to play it, or it's just going to get a bit unstable with a few more patches. I don't know. But anyway, let's get into it. Ahri, a champion that I do play, but has felt on the weak side. So health growth is going up, so a bit tankier in lane. And the Q magic damage is going up by 5 ability power ratio. Does help, you know, that is the little extra damage that sometimes it does feel that Ahri needs, so that's cool. Aurelion Soul, Q bonus magic damage of his, well, yeah, his main, really, ability is going down. So, where is it going down? So, yeah, the standard damage, so bonus magic damage per second, 60 up to 100. It's now 55 to 95. But everything else is staying the same. No, it's not. It's getting a 5% ability power nerf as well. So, I mean, Aurelion will feel that, but he's still a hyperscaling mage that will do very well into late game. Again, I think part of the problem sometimes of champions that are supposed to be hyper carry late game is they're too strong in the early game. That's kind of a normal theme in modern day League. So I do think toning down the earlier games of late game hyper carries is a fine thing to do, in my opinion, to be honest. Let me just check something, sorry. Okay. Next up, Bard. Bard has basically been among, I would say, Senna and Maokai, one of the strongest supports at the moment. Again, a lot of people obviously have bought into roaming meta on support, and Bard is the OG roaming support. It benefits Bard for roaming, not just to get a kill or an assist, to get his meeps or whatever chimes. Like, it's actually genuinely a good thing to do. So armor growth decreased, making him less tanky. Level 1 attack speed and attack speed ratio increased, though. And passive bonus damage increased, Q damage increased. So they're making him less tanky, but giving him higher damage, I guess. So the armor growth is going down, was 5.2 to 5. That's hardly really a nerf. Level 1 attack speed is significantly going up. The ratio as well is going up. The passive is... So his damage used to be 35 and then 14 per 5 chimes. It's 10 per 5 chimes, which is nerfed, but with a higher ability power ratio. So what does that mean? It's rewarding you if you actually buy more ability power. Same for his Q. The Q is actually going down by base damage starting at rank 2, but it's going up 15% ability power ratio. So it's one, I think his meeps or chimes give you AP, but also maybe float in one ability item here, one ability power item, and yeah, he might be pretty good. So Bard, I think, is going to maintain his spot as one of the best supports. Not really a nerf there. Fiora, W attack speed slow decreased. So if you hit someone with riposte, they obviously can get stunned if you block a form of CC and hit the rectangle, but if they don't get hit by that, or if you're not reflecting CC and you just get hit by the rectangle or riposte, they have an attack speed slow. And that is a pretty hefty nerf. So it used to be a 50% attack speed slow for 2 seconds. It's now going to a 25%. So that is a pretty big nerf. Arguably, I think I'm fine with it, because obviously, what is Fiora? She is one of the best duelists in the game, and has been for a very long time. A lot of people thought that, oh, with Divine Sunder and stuff going away, she's really going to get worse. Nope, she's still pretty damn good. So I'm kind of okay with that. Alawi, I'll be honest, she's been annoying. She's practically been in every single game that I've played in the last week. Obviously, historically in this year already, she was pretty weak, or on the weaker side, because of the widening top lane, and her tentacles couldn't really reach or latch to correct places. They buffed that and made them way bigger, and I think gave her another buff here or there, but it's a bit too much. And yeah, she synergizes very well with a lot of items. Obviously, top lane, I know some people disagree in some places, but I do think of any role, if a top laner gets ahead, they are more likely to just take over a game because they do damage and they are ridiculously tanky. They get the best of both worlds, and I've seen Alawi's do that. So the passive is going down by the looks of it, and they're just kind of getting rid of the extra total AD ratio of her passive. So used to do, and these are the tentacles, I presume, slamming on things. So it used to do 9 to 162. It's still that, based on your level, but instead of 115% total AD ratio, it's 100% instead. Fair enough. Mr. Jace, I'm definitely going to play a Jace episode in Unranked to Diamond to test this, because I miss playing Jace. For those that don't know, if you're newer to the channel, Season 9, my first year of getting Master, Jace was one of my main champions. You know, like my Anivia kind of level, you know, of main. I miss playing him, but what I'm going to say, I don't know what this is. If they don't give him scaling, I don't think it's going to make a difference. So we'll see. Because the problem with Jace is a lot of matchups, at least in top lane, he cannot lane bully a lot of things. He cannot lane bully a Riven, a Fiora, a Darius. Like, they just kill him, and he doesn't outscale them. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. So base AD increased, W mana restoration increased, and magic damage increased, and E now roots enemies on initial cast. So 2 extra AD doesn't seem like a lot, but it helps in the early game. The W mana regen going up 5. Oh, that's pretty nice, actually. And the magic damage of the AoE when you're in hammer form is going up as well. And then the E, which again, this is the hammer form E, grounded in science. Now roots enemies on initial cast, similar to Lee Sin's R root. Okay. I mean, that's nice, because basically it will stop like a Riven cancelling out his E, in essence. So, yeah, I don't think that's realistically going to help him too much, these buffs. But if you're a Jace player, you'll probably be happy. I'll still play him one game this week and just see what he's like. Cassante, base health and mana. Okay, the one thing I'll say about Cassante, it overall does feel a bit pointless to talk about this champion, because the kit is fundamentally broken. You can't have a tank that turns into a DPS champion. That's when he's in DPS form, his damage is crazy, his CC level is crazy, and he's still tanky. It's just not balanced as a kit. They are trying to fix one thing, is when All Out is his ultimate, his Q no longer slows when he's in All Out. So they are reducing some of the CC that he has when he's in his damage form, which is good because it was obnoxiously strong. But again, what they're doing is stupid. They're giving the champion buffs when they're trying to balance him for being obnoxiously strong in many ways. Don't give him the buffs. Make him on the weak side so the dedicated player base still plays him. Then you can really learn, okay, what actually needs to get buffed. That's the problem that they always do. So he's getting a significant health buff increase at level 1. That's a huge health buff. 50 odd. A lot more mana at level 1. And yeah, that doesn't affect the early game. W, bonus armor ratio is getting buffed. Bonus magic resist ratio is getting buffed. But what they're doing is the All Out, his ultimate, the All Out minimum cast channel time. All Out no longer reduces the minimum channel cast of 0.5, so they're just removing that. And All Out cooldown reduction, they're also getting rid of the extra cooldown reduction he got during his ultimate. But he's still going to be, tankier than before, which he was already one of the most tanky things in the game. And then his E, the dash speed is going down. The allied dash speed is, well, 1800. It's going to 1100 with a nerf, but plus his movement speed. And then his all-out dash speed was 2100. It's now going to 1450. So they're basically making him way tankier. Like, this is ridiculously tankier. More health in the early game and more mana. But they're reducing his effectiveness of ultimate. I don't think that's enough to make this champion bad, because The ultimate for Cassante is optional. He doesn't have to use it, but now you're making him better without it. So to me, this is a bit silly. It's a silly way to go to balance this champion. But with a fundamentally broken kit, I don't know what they can do unless they just change the kit. Kai'Sa, cast range over ultimate is going up in the early game, so that's fair. So she's been pretty weak this season, but has begun finding her foot with the Eclipse static shift starts. See, here's the thing. They're buffing this champion when I think, and this is sometimes the problem, that Kai'Sa would have been locked into the patch note a week, maybe a week and a half ago. I'm starting to already, before this patch, start to see more Kai'Sas, and they're kind of getting back into an Eclipse kind of ability power thing that seems to be quite strong again, and now she's getting a buff. So it's where you've got to be careful. Kalista, passive bug fix and E damage decreased. So Kalista now properly gains dash distance with the basic boots of speed. I don't know if that was a benefit bug or not. Yeah, I don't know. And then her rend is going down in base damage. And staying the same in ratio. So it just seems to be overall a little bit of a nerf to Kalista. Lulu, again, absolute enchanter supports have not seemed that good apart from Bard, because he gets the roaming way better. So wouldn't be surprised if we see buffs, and it is Q second bolt damage increased, E magic damage and shield value increased, and R bonus health increased. So just buffs across the board for Lulu. So it's going up by double for her second bolt damage. So obviously what that means is if you press Lulu Q, there's 2 lines of damage. This is the second bolt, not the first. The E, magic damage is going up, starting at rank 2, but again, not a lot. And the shield value is also going up, but starting at rank 1, so that's nice. And then the ultimate, while growth, is getting 10% more ability power ratio of what you're giving your teammate health or yourself. Little buffs, but nothing over the top, which I think is fair. Maokai, who has arguably been the best support in the game right now, and you can see here, Maokai is currently still the best support in the game. So yeah, they are even admitting that. And the funny thing is, he's not even a bad jungler top laner as well, so he's very versatile at the moment. This is going to hurt him quite a lot, though. A 4 armor nerf in the early game, and just reminding everybody, you can't get armor now in your runes anymore, so he can't gain it from other places. So that will hurt, especially like in bot lane against AD champions. That will hurt him in top lane against AD bruisers. Jungle, it probably won't hurt him as much, but still. Magic damage, obviously, of his Q is also getting nerfed just by 5, though. Doesn't seem like anything major, but it's just to tone down him a little bit. And then the R, Nature's Grasp, the root duration is also going down. So there's that. It is worth knowing, because sometimes I have to mention, people will always kind of go like, dude, these buffs or nerfs, they're so minor, it's not going to do anything. That's the funny thing, it will. And I've always said this, and I know people have laughed, is I will complain about balance. Most players will complain about balance. But as a grand scheme of kind of the game, League is actually, in the grand scheme of things, actually a pretty balanced game. And it's just these little minute changes that makes a champion really strong or actually kind of weak. It's actually crazy how little the kind of barrier of strong, OP, weak, terrible is. And, you know, if you went to this Maokai, if you really were like, no, we need to nerf him. If you took, just say with these nerfs, you went 39 base armor, made it 30. If you did the damage, okay, instead of 70, it's 50, and a maximum instead of 270, it's 200. And then with his ultimate, instead of the root duration being 0.8 to 2.6, it's 0.5 to 2 seconds. This champion would never be played again. Like, those are huge nerfs. Like, he would never be played ever again. And I think that's what sometimes people don't realize. You actually have to nerf them quite a small amount. The weakest champion in League, typically, without, you know, there's occasional, you know, outliers, but typically the worst champion has about a 45 to 46% win rate, and the best champion will typically have a 54 to 55% win rate. That's a 10% swing, but again, what that means, in every 100 games, the best champion wins 55 out of 100 games, and the worst champion wins 45 out of 100 games. That isn't actually a very big swing. You know, from the weakest of the weak to the highest best of the best, that isn't that big. So, you know, it's not like, oh, the weakest champion has a 20% win rate and the best champion has an 80% win rate. That would be crazy. It's not that big. So you have to do small little changes. Rek'Sai, all abilities adjusted. Holy moly, what? So in a current state, Rek'Sai tends to feel non-functional as a fighter. Oh, they're putting her back to be an assassin. Oh, God. Again, assassin Rek'Sai is so annoying because you basically can't play against it. Again, it's what sometimes I've spoken about is non-interactive gameplay. And if randomly you just walk into a bush that a Rek'Sai is waiting, burrowed, she knocks you up, you Q, E, and then she ultimates, you're dead, and you cannot even interact. It's not fun. So what are they doing to her? So causing her builds to often be full lethality just to accomplish anything in game. This patch we're hoping to give Rek'Sai some exciting things to do in early, mid, and late game. The primary buffs are substantially a snappier, tunnel usage, and super juiced passive that plays up to her ability to weave in and out of combat to recoup health between cooldowns. That's cool. As there's a lot of power in these gains, we'll be taking down her burst damage. Okay, no, so they're actually toning down her assassin nature and toning up her fighter nature, and fighter nature with also dipping in and out of combat. Okay, so movement speed of the champions going up. That's hilariously nowadays quite a rare buff. Base health regeneration, though, is going way lower. And health regeneration growth is going way lower. Presumably, they're going to obviously get it from somewhere else. So the passive used to do healing. And there we go. So used to do 10 healing, but then plus 2 to 10% based on the level maximum health. It's now 12 to 20% maximum healing. And if I'm not mistaken, that healing happens when you're underground, I think. And then the new thing, Fury generation from non-champions. Attacks against minions, plates, and wards restore 50% less Fury. Okay. And then the unburrowed Q, attack type. Queen's Wrath now functions as basic attack instead of a spell, meaning total attack time and time between attacks is based on Rek'Sai's actual attack speed. So that's making it more useful to buy fighter items that may dip into attack speed, like Blade the Ruined King, for example. Bonus attack speed is Queen's Wrath now grants 45% bonus attack speed for 3 attacks. Ooh, that could be... Ooh. Could you do Hail of Blades with Bulk Rush on Rek'Sai now then? That could be kind of cool. And that would be a lot of damage. Prey Seeker Borrowed is going to 10 seconds all ranks, which flattens out its old rank 5 cooldown. The damage of it also, though, is going down. And also a lot less bonus AD. Probably, though, because they're going to start to see Rek'Sai's buy things like Blade the Ruined King, which obviously are very strong items, is what I would guess. Borrow. So bonus movement speed is going up, way up, based on your rank. And the vision radius, you're getting more vision when you're borrowed. So a little bit more forgiving. Your unborrow. Grouping is scary. Unborrow now knocks up all champions for 1 second, not just the primary target. That's a really nice update. They got rid of this thing. And the damage of it also to get unborrowed is becoming magic damage, not physical damage, and also slightly less actual total damage. Okay. Tunnel, the cooldown of it is significantly going down. The tunnel reuse cooldown is going down a lot in the early game. That's huge. The manual cast dash speed is going... Movement speed from boots is now total movement speed. Okay, interesting. So that's pretty good. And the quality life adjustment, Rek'Sai begins taking already placed tunnels roughly 20% faster. So that is the kind of dipping in out of combat. It's up on cooldown quicker. You can reuse a tunnel a lot quicker. That's pretty nice. So that is obviously playing into the just Rek'Sai is going to kind of, in a weird way, kind of turn into a version of like a fighter Shaco, with Shaco using his Q, where Rek'Sai is going to tunnel everywhere. The Furious Bite, it does no base damage anymore. It did a 70% damage AD ratio. It's now 100% of your total AD. That's odd. The 100 Fury bonus used to be 2 times damage as true damage. It's now 6 to 14% based on rank target's maximum health. So yeah, that's a lot more fightery rather than assassin-y. Oof. Some Rek'Sais are not going to like that. The cooldown of it, though, is going down. And Flashy E now displays a cosmetic critical strike when fully empowered. So with your maximum Fury. And then the ultimate, physical damage. I don't miss Maya. Physical damage is massively going down, yeah. So it used to be 175% bonus AD. It's now 100 bonus AD. So again, they're probably theorying that with the, especially the change to Q, that really does play into, sorry, this Q, unborrowed, that plays into more fighter items, and they're pretty strong. So they need to be careful with giving her still a lot of crazy ratios. So fair enough. Renekton. It's poor sod. So Renekton is what they call it, has been in pro jail for a long time. He's incredibly good with a team comp built around him, with jungle synergy, team synergy. But in solo queue, you know, he is an early game bully that kind of falls off late game, and they've had to nerf him to the ground. So these hopefully are some buffs for the Croc, because yeah, he's been pretty bad for a long time. So simply put, Renekton is quite bad in his current state and needs desperate help. The problem that you've got, because Riot don't separate, obviously, live patches from pro play, if they buff him up, pro play will most likely pick him back up again, and then he's going to get nerfed to the ground again because of pro jail. So Q healing increased, E cooldown decreased, and R bonus health increased. So he's going to get more healing for his Q, which is nice. Very good, obviously nice for lane phase, good for trading, so that's pretty good. His E, which obviously is his bread and butter for trading, getting in and out kind of safely or chasing people down. It's going to be on cooldown early, like quicker, which again, very good for lane phase especially. And his ultimate, he's getting, in the early game, 50 more health. In mid game, 100 more health at rank 11, or rank 2, but level 11. And then at level 16 or rank 3, 150 more health. So that's actually pretty nice. That's not bad. Smolder. This champion, I will say, is pretty good. In the right hands. I've seen a lot of useless Smolders, but I think hilariously that's more the player than the champion. So Q additional fireball scaling decreased, now stacks if a target minion dies while Q is in mid-flight. That's nice. W cooldown adjusted, initial damage decreased, explosion damage increased though, and R will continue to cast when Smolder dies. That's nice. If I had to guess, some of these changes are targeted at, there's some odd builds going on with Smolder that like involve like mage items when he's supposed to be an AD carry. So Smolder's W has proven very powerful poking tool during lane phase. So yeah, some people are going early like Spirit Shojin or something like that, maxing W at least to 3 ranks, and it's just making him arguably a bit too safe for a late game hyper carry. So while we're happy that players want to max and poke with it, we want to slightly reduce its power at lower ranks due to the PvP damage it can provide, while also ensuring that no one ever one-shots the wave, preventing Smolder from stacking with Q and scaling. We're also taking this opportunity to add some quality of life and bug fixes that will help Smolder live the best dragon ever. So Fireball at 125 stacks, the second, obviously, the second version of his Q. Fireball at, so 2 + 1 per 100 dragon placements. It's 1 + 1, 6. I honestly have no idea what. Fireballs at 125 stacks. So he gets 2 fireballs, but then plus 1 extra fireball per 100 stacks. So now he's only at, as soon as you rank it up, you only are getting 2 fireballs, I presume. And then, because obviously when you hit, so, sorry, again, I've got to make sure I get this right. When you rank it up, you used to get 3 straight away, because you get 2 from the base ability, and then because you have 125 stacks, in theory, you've already hit the default to get the extra 1. Now, to get to, well, now you're getting 1 by default, where you used to get 2, and you still at 125 stacks, so per 67, you're getting an extra 1. So for obviously for him to get to 3, which is what he used to get, he would need 134. So they're just delaying the 3 fireballs by a little amount of time, which seems a little bit pointless if I've got that right. And then if a minion dies while Smolder's Q is flight towards it, Smolder will receive the stack. That's quite big. I've played Smolder a couple times, and that has happened to me quite a lot. I know I'm not the best with last hitting, but still. Cooldown of his W is going up in the early game, down in late game. Here you go. They're nerfing the initial damage of ability power and base. So again, this ability power will be targeting the weird kind of mage builds that people have been doing with him a bit more. But then the explosion physical damage, they are actually giving it a bonus AD ratio, which again kind of incentivizes, hey, you're supposed to be building AD on this champion. But they are also upping the AP ratio of it. But it's the initial damage that I think is obviously the harder to avoid. And that was obviously the more strong thing. And then, yeah, the ultimate, it was kind of weird. If Smolder was casting his ultimate died, the dragon just never appeared. It will now appear, which is good. Soraka, as I mentioned on the Lulu one, actual enchanters aren't that good at the moment, so they are buffing it. So ambulance will be moving faster, so 90% bonus movement speed for Soraka now, so she will be literally zooming like mad to go heal somebody. The actual heal itself is going up, which again is a buff. The E-bug fix now silences enemies in the area instantly rather than after a variable delay. That's a pretty nice change. And then the ultimate is going lower on cooldown. So again, they are buffing actual enchanters because they are on the weaker side. Mr. Thresh, base armor increased, E damage increased, and R cooldown decreased. So yeah, bit tankier, bit more damage with his flay, and the ultimate is going lower. So that's quite nice. Mr. Twisted Fate, I have heard about this and I have been confused about it. So Twisted Fate is really strong right now because of the changes that they've done with him recently. But I think most people would agree, ADTF seems to be way stronger than AP in quite a few ways. And don't get me wrong, that will hurt ADTF. His natural attack speed growth is going down. But then his actual damage of his pick a card, they're keeping at 100% AD ratio, but they're nerfing the ability power ratio, so that doesn't hurt ADTF. And the exact same thing for his stacked deck is the bonus, the base damage is the same, the attack bonus AD is the same, but they're once again nerfing the AP ratio. When I think a lot of people are a bit more annoyed by the AD version than the AP version, because the AD one is just auto-attacking you to death like mad, where at least the AP version has to actually rely on his abilities a bit more. So that's an odd decision to me. Varus is getting some just base AD nerfs. Fair enough. Volibear. Q bonus movement speed increased. E cooldown decreased. R turret disabled. Duration decreased though, but cooldown has been decreased. Crowd control resistances during the leap has also been adjusted. I will say, and I don't think, Vayne is not appearing in this patch. I'm surprised that they're not nerfing Vayne, because obviously Vayne has become a really annoying pick to a lot of top laners. Like, she shouldn't be top lane. I know I'm against cheese picks more than some players, but I hate Vayne top. Like, to me, if you're playing Vayne top, you're basically admitting you can't actually play top lane. Why does Riot let that be a thing? Like, no actual top laner is having a fun time playing against the Vayne, and Riot themselves has gotten rid of several playstyles because it's anti-fun. Vayne top is anti-fun. Like, it just is. You can't even argue that. It is anti-fun. You're playing Vayne to try and ultimately deny the enemy top laner from being able to play the game fully. Because you're playing a tank-killing, AD carry skirmisher top lane. I don't know. I don't know why they allow that. But anyway, the Q bonus movement speed is going up. But this is still doubled when going to enemy champions, so that will... Volibear will be zooming when he's running towards champions at least. The cooldown of his E is going down, and then his ultimate, the duration of disabled turrets is going down, but the ultimate cooldown is going lower, so you get to do it more. And now, the interesting thing is that they're changing that he used to be crowd control immune to unstoppable. Presumably, the reason for doing this... The difference between crowd control immune and unstoppable... I don't know what the actual difference would be. I'd imagine there's some weird instances that some abilities could even CC crowd control immune things, which I guess doesn't make sense, but unstoppable is the ultimate level in League of Legends of you are literally unstoppable. You cannot be hit. You cannot be, you know, your trajectory of movement cannot be changed in any situation. So I'm guessing there was just a couple of use cases that it could have been changed, as weird as that sounds. Zyra, passive plant damage decreased and damage bonus to non-epic monsters increased. So they're actually buffing her jungle, but nerfing her actual damage itself. Okay, so she's overperforming as a support, but not good at a jungle. So they want her to be a jungler nowadays, which is interesting. Black Cleaver. So again, we are obviously already over half an hour into this video. We've got a decent amount to go, so we might go a bit quick into some of these. But yeah, Black Cleaver. So Black Cleaver is currently a bit underwhelming compared to other fighter itemization options in the game. And while we don't think it needs to be a default for fighter item, which it was many years ago, we want to make sure it still feels worth picking up for champions that appreciate it. To that end, we're giving Black Cleaver quite a few minor buffs that should make the item feel better. So yeah, little tiny buff here, little buff there. So yeah, nothing major, but there we go. The Hullbreaker change, this is literally just for Urgot. So Hullbreaker is now an on-hit item instead of an on-attack item. So Urgot's W does not apply on-hit. Otherwise, he'd definitely go like Blade the Ruined King, I presume. But yeah, so they're just adjusting that and just tightening that up because it was stupidly crazy on Urgot. Ravenous Hydra. Ravenous Hydra now applies lifesteal to its Crescent active at 150% effectiveness. So it's actually giving you healing through that as well. Stridebreaker, though we think Stridebreaker is appropriately powerful, in its current state, it has a few bugs and pains, so they're just tightening up some bugs. Fair enough. Terminus, this item I can't decide, by the way, if it's good or bad. I don't see many people buying it, but I have heard with the changes that they're doing, it might even become like a decent Jax item and Kale item, and people are scared about that. So Terminus has cultivated a group of core users by being a source of percent penetration and durability for on-hit champions. While that's great, it's been pretty unsatisfying and in some cases unapproachable due to how long the item takes to stack up. In this patch, we're quickening its stack rate so that champions can use its full power for more time in fights. Yeah, so more penetration basically. So the maximum is still 30% pen, armor, and MR, but you're being able to get to the maximum stacks penetration quicker. Support items. So support got a lot more powerful in 14.1, largely due to gaining much more gold income and having overall stronger sightstone items. Now that they're gaining a lot more or less complete item early on, we'd like to shift around their power curves to make them closer to other champion power levels at various points in time. So yeah, support sometimes are a bit too strong early, considering again their gold income should be the lowest in the game. I've seen supports kind of complete a first item before lane champions have, and it's like, whoa. And you know, admittedly that could be a frozen heart that's a really cheap item, but still. So because their first legendary item comes online at a similar time to their finished support item, which is again is a very big power spike for two items kind of being complete, so there's too much of an early power spike. Conversely, since they're permanently down an item slot in the late game, because obviously they need to ward and everything, we'd like to, if they felt stronger than they currently do on completed builds. Thus, we're shifting some of these items towards a more scaling profile to keep up with the game as it goes to late without being as strong initially. I think I'm actually kind of okay with that. So we're also doing a cleanup on timings when it comes to stacks and stuff. Yeah, I think they've been completing support items a bit too quick, you know, and that's as someone that plays it, you know, I play a bit of support myself, and yeah, I do think it's been a bit too quick. But anyway, so quest charge cooldown is going up. The first quest charge generated was 208. It's now 150 in game. Interesting. But yeah, they've removed that. So World Atlas will no longer provide bonus stacks if purchased later into the game. So yeah, the quest charge cooldown is going up. The health, though, you're getting more health and you're getting more regen. Ranged damage amplification is getting nerfed because, yeah, that item has been pretty good, like on Senna and stuff. The Slay does seem to be the default for a lot of things. Less initial health, more scaling health, so that will be better in late game. And again, no more 90 flat movement speed decaying over 4 seconds. It's now 30% bonus movement speed decaying over 3. And also, this item seems to also be pretty strong. They are, once again, giving it higher scaling, but less initial damage. So there we go. Interesting. Lost Chapter. So again, mages have still not, in my opinion, really blown up in this season when kind of Riot promised, you know, we're going to try and do and help mages. I still don't see a lot of mages in mid. I don't see mages taking over games. Like, they're just not as good. Their items are not as good as AP fighters or lethality champions or fighter champions or tanks or AD carries. They're just not as good as a class with items. So, despite lowering gold costs of Lost Chapter items last patch, most mages are still performing a little bit worse on their first item power spike than we'd like them to. with this in mind, we're taking the changes last patch a bit further by giving extra ability haste to these items so that mana mages can still do their magic thing. So I will say, I think part of what they needed to do, and it's a hard thing, and maybe what they needed to kind of make a link, is last patch they reduced the alternators damage burst, but maybe they should have kept the damage burst the same for ranged champions and less for melee champions. Because yes, that item was incredibly strong on Akali, Fizz, Gragas, etc. But on a Nivea or a Victor, it's not that good because mages take longer to get going. So ability haste though for Archangels going up, ability haste for Ludens is going up, and Malignance is going up. So a bit more ability haste, which that isn't going to be an absolute amazing buff. So they're still being really, really conservative and reserved for mage buffs, and I don't know why, because again, they did say they were going to help them, and they don't really. Lethal Tempo. So people have been waiting for this for a very long time. So lethal, so this is for melee champions, so not range, so AD carries not affected, but it used to give melee attack speed per stack was 9 to 13.5. It's now 5 to 16, so it's better in late game, and everybody that I've heard and seen on Reddit, everyone's fine with it being better in late game for Yasuo and Yone. They're supposed to be late game hyperscaling champions. But what wasn't good, the fact that they got 9% attack speed per stack in the early game, you know, starting at level 1, it was ridiculous how strong they would be in a early quick fight because they were getting crazy attack speed early, which, you know, is worth a lot of gold in the early game, that they really shouldn't have that strength. So it's where I think this is overall a really good change. It should push Yone out of top lane. Because the only reason that even Yone could survive, and notice that Yasuo has never really made it in top lane, by the way. Like, Yasuo as a champion has never really made it there. He's had to stay in mid. Yone is a bit of a different animal with his kit, and that's why he got to go top lane. But this nerf should make him not really go top lane anymore, because in the early game, he's supposed to get absolutely murdered by the average AD fighter on top. A Darius or a Fiora should absolutely rip him apart. But because of how much attack speed he was getting from Lethal Tempo, they weren't really ripping him apart as much. He'd sometimes kill them, which he really shouldn't. So this nerf, a 4% attack speed nerf straight away per stack, that will affect him a lot. And I know people are very happy about that, because even though, you know, and then this is where Riot, I think, is sometimes listening and sometimes learning, is they are very into overall win rates. And if you look at Yone's right now, it may not be the most impressive. I'd presume it's over 50%. But there's such a thing as just being frustrating to play against. And a Yone who's a hyperscaling triple damage type champion, he does physical, magic, and true damage, has a crazy kit, has insane mobility, has shields, everything. To then have a good early game because of a rune is just frustrating. And I think they've toned that down. Annoyingly, I don't actually think Yasuo is that bad. In comparison, and you know, there is that conspiracy. That's why they made Yone, is people were really annoyed with Yasuo. But Riot want Yasuo to be the poster boy of League of Legends now. So what do? You make his brother 10 times worse than Yasuo, and suddenly, Yasuo's not that bad. Yone's awful. Yasuo's cool. He can be the poster boy. There is that conspiracy, which I'm slightly behind. Grass the Undying, so damage done is now moving into total max health gained. Oh, these are the rune trackers to give you information. Because again, this should not be a damage done thing. It's not about damage technically, so it's about how much health you're getting, attack speed gained, and damage blocked. Fountain regeneration is going up, so your actual your health when you're at your base is going to go up quicker, so you don't have to stand on the fountain as long. Cool. Tether ability changes. So have you ever had a moment where LeBlanc E or Morgana's ultimate tether was attached to you, but you saved your flash to get out, and then the last second you get stunned anyway? So that situation is happening too much. So they're basically just fixing the tether's ability. So if you play any of these champions, this probably you won't be happy about, because the tethers were a bit too forgiving, if we're completely honest. So Aatrox W, Fiddlesticks W, Alawi E, Karma's W in both forms, Kled Q, LeBlanc's E in both forms, Nocturne E, Morgana R, Renata Q, and Zac Q. So yeah, this is a nerf to the tethers, but kind of making them what they're actually supposed to be. And you can see it, while this may result in a small power loss for these champions, we'll keep an eye on them. But even though it's a small power loss, it's a power loss that they shouldn't, well, it's a power that they shouldn't have had because it was the tethers not really working appropriately anyway. Red side camera adjustments. I have heard about this. So they are changing the offset of the camera. So this is of the Lucian's perspective. And this, by the way, so this, both of them, it looks a bit confusing, but this is if they're centered, like locked camera centered on the champion. They're putting the champion a bit further right, I would presume. So the left is before and the right image is after. So basically, because you're playing your base is top right and you're kind of moving to bottom left, in theory you want more vision in the bottom left because that's where you're actually going to be taking more fighting and you'll be kind of needing that vision more. So they're just experimenting to put your champion further right so that you have more vision and kind of general area space of vision to the bottom left. Kind of cool. I'm pretty sure blue side already does this, by the way, so they're just kind of mimicking it. ARAM, don't really care about. Okay, this is interesting to me. The changes that gave the changes that gave players below Emerald plus minus 28 LP per loss win loss have resulted in promotions and demotions being too streaky, resulting in an increased frequency of players losing more LP than they gain. With this patch, we'll be reverting back to plus minus 25 LP. Wait, what? I thought it said above Emerald. That's what confused me. I knew this was coming, by the way. I've mentioned this in videos, but I thought... Adjustments to Emerald Plus LP gains. This is not Emerald Plus, by the way. This is for Emerald and lower, isn't it not? Oh, yeah, look. Below Emerald. So, I don't know. That must be a typo, unless I'm misreading. So, basically, TLDR, for the vast majority of players in Ranked, obviously, with the news last year, everything was balanced. Every single rating was balanced towards win-loss plus minus 25 LP. With the new season, they did a change, and kind of for the first time ever, changed what LP gain and minus you'll be doing depending actually on different rank brackets. So at the start of the season, anything below Emerald would be gaining or losing on an average of 28 LP. And obviously you can earn more or lose less, etc., depending on your MMR. And then for Emerald and above, it was balanced towards 20 LP plus minus. They're keeping high rating the same, Emerald and above. They're keeping that plus minus 20, but they're toning down Emerald and below. Instead of it being balanced around plus minus 28, it's now going to be going plus minus 25. And for those that are just like, does this really do anything? It slows it a bit down. So it slows climbing a bit, but it also slows going down. And I think that is valuable sometimes if you're on a loss streak. But also, you know, if you've been watching my Unranked to Diamond series, it was ridiculously quick. You know, spoiler, we're already well within Emerald. And it was mad how much LP we were gaining below Emerald. We were literally gaining like 43 LP way after placements. And to me, 43 LP for a non-placement game is like placement level LP gain. You know, placement games is where you're supposed to get the highest LP gains at all during the whole season. And I was gaining that, you know, in game 20, which is 10, or actually nowadays it's 15 games after placements. It was ridiculous. Like, it was way too crazy. So the fact that now it's going to be balanced towards plus minus 25 instead of 28, even if you have insane MMR, you probably won't be getting plus 43. You might maybe getting plus 38 or 39. So it's just slowing that down as well. So that's good. Quick play. I've not heard good things about quick play. I don't know really why they did it, but anyway. We've got Clash this weekend, so we'll be looking to do Clash, I think, on minimum one of the days. So hopefully next week you'll have some Clash content. Mythic shop rotation. I'm actually looking for a mythic skin to buy because I don't own every skin in the game anymore. I can't just re-roll them after a few months. I actually want the Shaco one. I don't have the Shaco one, and I want it, but unfortunately it's not coming in this patch, so I will be looking out for that. But anyway, but there we go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Pretty long patch note. I will say it is kind of cool that we're getting long patch notes because it does mean Riot is changing things. They're not just kind of starting the season being like, well, Our work here is done. See you later, lads. They're actively trying to do things, so I do respect that. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. I will get this edited and uploaded today. But yeah, 50-minute video, Jesus. But if you appreciate the effort, do throw a like on the video, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.